Log number 002, the Stranger Things experiments. What you're about to hear may sound like fiction. In fact, it was written as fiction. But at the root of one of the most popular sci-fi stories of our time lies something much darker, much older, and frighteningly real. Stranger Things captured the world's imagination with a girl named Eleven, psychic powers, government labs, and a door to another dimension. But the story didn't come from nowhere. The truth buried under decades of secrecy and denial is even stranger than the show. In the 1980s, whispers started circulating out of a town called Montauk, New York. A decommissioned Air Force station, Camp Hero, sat quietly on the eastern edge of Long Island. Officially, it was just a radar facility from the Cold War, but locals told a different story. They spoke of strange lights in the sky, screams in the middle of the night, military personnel seen entering sealed tunnels beneath the base, tunnels that, according to blueprints, didn't exist. And then came Preston Nichols, a man who claimed to have worked inside those underground facilities.
I personally believe that Montauk was most likely a test bed for some of the technology interchange between aliens and the U.S. government.
In 1992, he published a book titled The Montauk Project, Experiments in Time. It detailed his supposed recovered memories of classified government experiments, the kind that made MK Ultra look tame. Nichols claimed he was part of a black budget program focused on psychic warfare, time travel, mind control, and remote manipulation of the human brain. But the most unsettling claim, that children, hundreds of them, were abducted, trained, and used as test subjects. One child in particular, known as Duncan, was said to possess extraordinary abilities. He could read minds, interfere with electronics, and eventually manifest physical entities from his subconscious. Nichols said that during one experiment, Duncan imagined a beast, a faceless creature full of rage and hunger. Within moments, the facility lost power, chaos erupted, and something appeared inside the lab, something they couldn't explain. According to Nichols, they shut the power grid down to make it disappear. Sound familiar? The entire story became the inspiration for Stranger Things, which originally had the working title Montauk. Montauk might sound like a stretch, but it wasn't the first time the US government experimented with psychic phenomena. In fact, by the time Camp Hero was allegedly active, the CIA had already spent decades studying how to weaponize the human mind. It began with Project Bluebird, then evolved into Project Artichoke. But in 1953, the program changed names one last time, and that name still sends a chill through the halls of American intelligence. MK Ultra, helmed by Dr. Sidney Gottlieb.
In the early days of the Cold War, the CIA ordered the creation of a secret program intended to find ways of mind control. They funded an army of psychiatric institutions across the United States and Canada to perform experiments on unsuspecting patients using psychedelic drugs, sensory deprivation, electroshock treatment, and more. The program was known by its codename, MK Ultra.
The program tested LSD, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and even electroconvulsive therapy on unsuspecting subjects. Some were prisoners, others were psychiatric patients, and disturbingly, some were just ordinary citizens. Over 80 institutions were involved, from Ivy League schools to federal prisons. Much of it was done under fake medical grants. Even hospital staff weren't always aware who they were working for. One infamous case was that of Frank Olson, a biochemist who was covertly dosed with LSD. Days later, he died under mysterious circumstances after falling from a 10th floor window. The CIA called it suicide. Decades later, new autopsies raised serious questions. By the 1970s, the program had spiraled out of control. When the Senate held hearings, most of the records were already destroyed. Gottlieb had ordered a massive purge. What survived was damning enough, confirming years of unethical, illegal experimentation. And yet, buried inside the fragments of MK Ultra were references to more unusual pursuits: telepathy, remote viewing, ESP, and psychic warfare. Programs like Stargate, Grill Flame, and Sunstreak picked up where MK Ultra left off. The government may never have opened a portal to another dimension, but they did seriously investigate the idea of using the human mind as a weapon, a transmitter, even a receiver, which brings us back to Montauk and a boy named Duncan. According to Preston Nichols, Duncan wasn't just another subject. He was the key, a gifted child taken into the program as part of a covert recruitment effort targeting kids with high psychic potential. They placed him in what became known as the Montauk chair, a bizarre piece of technology allegedly reverse engineered from alien designs. The chair was meant to amplify psychic energy, to allow thoughts to become real. Nichols claimed that when Duncan focused his mind while in the chair, strange phenomena occurred. Objects moved, electrical systems shorted out, sometimes doors opened. But what kind of doors? That's where the story takes its most terrifying turn. During a session in 1983, Duncan was told to focus on the other side. Not a person, not a place, just a concept. The other side. He closed his eyes, concentrated. Minutes passed. Then he whispered, "It's here." That's when the power surged, lights flickered, monitors glitched, and something massive tore into the facility. Nichols described it as a shadow creature made of raw psychic energy. It rampaged through the underground lab. Technicians ran, panic set in. The only way to stop it? Shut down the chair. Cut the connection, disconnect Duncan's mind from the machine. They did, and the creature vanished. Sound too far-fetched? Maybe. But this very event, the manifestation of a nightmare through the mind of a child, would become the seed of the Demogorgon in Stranger Things. And remember, this isn't just sci-fi storytelling. These accounts come from recorded interviews, signed testimonies, people who swore under oath and over decades that they witnessed things that defied all logic. If what Nichols said was true, why didn't the world know? Why weren't these stories front page news? Because, he claimed, they were never meant to be. Nichols wasn't alone. Over the years, others came forward. People who lived near Camp Hero, former military contractors, even engineers. Many of their stories were eerily consistent. Tales of children being brought in, loud machines running at night, and black sedans escorting men with no insignia. One man, who claimed to have been a technician at the base, described seeing a boy seated in the chair surrounded by glowing rings of light. It wasn't science, he said, it was something else. His interview disappeared within a year. Another anonymous whistleblower recalled Duncan having episodes, not seizures, but what they called time bleeds. Moments when the air shimmered, clocks slowed, and people around him lost track of minutes, even hours. And then, silence. Most of these witnesses were discredited or simply vanished from public view. Nichols himself claimed he was harassed, monitored, that attempts were made to erase his work. Even the original manuscript of the Montauk Project was allegedly tampered with before release. Chapters removed, language softened. Why? According to Nichols, to make it seem like fiction. Camp Hero was officially decommissioned. Portions of it were converted into a state park, but to this day, some buildings remain sealed. Underground tunnels are off limits, and rumors persist of equipment still running beneath the earth. In 2016, the Duffer Brothers launched Stranger Things, but in early drafts, the show was called Montauk, set not in Hawkins, Indiana, but in Montauk, New York, the very town Preston Nichols warned us about. The elements were there from the beginning: psychic children, government labs, shadow creatures, and portals to an unknown dimension. The chair became the sensory deprivation tank. Duncan became 11. Camp Hero became Hawkins National Lab. Netflix changed the setting, but they didn't change the core idea. What if the government had been experimenting with other realities all along? To this day, no official investigation into the Montauk Project has been launched. The government insists Camp Hero was just a radar base, but the rumors persist. Even now, paranormal investigators, retired military officers, and curious truth seekers make pilgrimages to the site. Some report strange hums, some unexplained static on their radios. One even claimed their watch stopped and never started again. So what's real? What's fiction? Maybe that line was never supposed to be clear. Maybe the best way to hide something is to let people think it's just a TV show. After all, who's gonna believe a story about mind-controlled children, psychic portals, and monsters from another realm? We might never know the whole truth, but one thing's certain: the files are out there. The rumors are louder than ever, and the logs, they're just beginning. This was log number 002, the secret experiments that inspired Stranger Things. And somewhere out there, log number 003 is waiting to be opened.